Not good. Oh, we have no pain. Probably didn't know. Good morning. This is the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners special meeting. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and it is 11:02 a.m. If everyone will stand and do the pledge. Who's your flag? Sweet. That one's for the governor.
Whoever put down the carpet put the flag in the wrong place.
Okay.
It wasn't me.
Now we're going to take a moment of silence to reflect on the men and women who serve us at home and abroad. All right, now I want to welcome everybody today. Today we're going to talk about the ratification of a settlement of the conflict assessment meeting with the City of Flagler Beach. Is Mr. Rodriguez going to kick this off, or do we have a presentation of any sort?
I guess it's not really much formal presentation, but we'll have, it's basically a summary of the conflict resolution meeting that was held on February 13th between the city and the county. Representing the county were myself, as well as County Administrator Heidi Petito and Deputy County Administrator Percy Sales, as well as our Growth Management Director. The city was represented by the city attorney and their city manager. We discussed the 5 issues that were raised in the resolution that the county commission adopted, which initiated the 164 conflict resolution phase. And the parties came to a resolution at the meeting itself. The parties came to a resolution with 4 of the 5. Subsequent meetings and discussions afterwards, then the 5th matter, which wasn't full, there wasn't a impasse between the city and the county. I think there was some additional clarification that we needed to involve the third party, which in this case was the developer. When that was clarified, then we did notify the city, and the city did accept that resolution. Therefore, all 5 issues that were in conflict between the city and the county have therefore been resolved. Those resolutions are summarized in the draft resolution that was prepared. It was distributed this morning for your review. And I can read them out for the record, just to give you what are the 5 resolved issues, and then afterwards we can then open it up for discussion. So the wording in the resolution: the issues in conflict between Flagler County and the City of Flagler Beach are hereby settled and resolved to the satisfaction of both the county and the city as follows. In regard to ordinance 2025-26 of the City of Flagler Beach, and whether it is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and with the settlement agreement entered into by Flagler County and the City of Flagler Beach and City of Flagler Beach et al. Versus Hammock Beach River Club Property Owners Association, Inc., the circuit court case, give me the case number from January 31st, 2007, the county recognizes the city's commitment to provide potable water, sanitary sewer, and reuse reclaimed water services to the Veranda Bay and Summertown projects. To the extent that any commitments remained outstanding from the settlement agreement, the county acknowledges that these have now been settled through the city's commitment and its approval of Ordinance 2526. As the sole utility provider for the John Anderson Highway Service area, the county acknowledges that the obligations of the settlement agreement as these related to the city, the county, and the Property Owners Association as identified in the settlement agreement have now effectively been transferred to the city and the developer as the successor to the POA without recourse to Flagler County. This issue is satisfied. In regards to Ordinance 2025-26 of the City of Flagler Beach and whether it is consistent with the city comprehensive plan as it relates to floodplain protection and its impact on the county's adjacent floodplains and sensitive environmental lands adjacent and contiguous to the subject property, the county and city agree to allow work together with the developer of the subject property to effectuate the preservation of the sensitive environmental lands that are the subject of the county's application for Florida Forever funding, as well as investigating potential alternative financial resources for the acquisition of environmentally sensitive lands for a period of 3 years. This issue is satisfied. In regards to Ordinance 2025-26 of the City of Flagler Beach and whether it is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan inasmuch as it increases residential density within the coastal high hazard area, adversely impacting John Anderson Highway, a county-owned and maintained right-of-way and hurricane evacuation route, the county, through the proposed agreement between the county and the developer, acknowledges the proportionate fair share payment between the county and the developer, payment referred to in the proposed agreement as the John Anderson Highway mitigation contribution proffered by the developer and to be used by the county as necessary to offset impacts arising from the development of the Veranda Bay and Summertown projects. Priority for the use of these funds by the county will be to offset any impacts resulting from the development of the projects that adversely impacts the evacuation clearance times to unacceptable levels. If no such adverse impacts to evacuation timing are anticipated to occur as a result of the development of the projects, the contribution funds may be used for generalized transportation planning, long-term maintenance planning, design, engineering, improvements, landscaping, and maintenance associated with John Anderson Highway and its corridor, as specifically provided in the proposed agreement. This issue is satisfied. In regard as to whether an adequate traffic study was conducted to analyze the impacts of the increase in residential density on John Anderson Highway by the adoption of Ordinance 2025-26 by the City of Flagler Beach, the county, through the proposed agreement between the county and the developer, releases the developer and the city from any modification specific to John Anderson Highway and the extent of impacts resulting from the development of the Veranda Bay and Summertown projects to the submitted traffic study relied upon by the City Commission through its approval of Ordinance 2025-26. Project-specific improvements, including the provision of signage, turn lanes, and acceleration-deceleration lanes, may still be needed, but without the requirement for the provision of an updated traffic study. And any project-specific improvements will be required to be provided by the developer as part of any county right-of-way utilization permit submittal made to Flagler County for access to John Anderson Highway. This issue is satisfied. And final, in regard to whether there is a possibility for an alternative for future maintenance of John Anderson Highway, either in the form of the city taking the ownership and maintenance obligation of the right-of-way, or the developer paying county impact fees or their functional equivalent relating to the impacts and maintenance of the right-of-way, as has been requested previously, the city remains unwilling to accept ownership and maintenance of the portion of John Anderson Highway adjoining the Veranda Bay and Summertown projects. Additionally, the city has not adopted transportation impact fees of its own and has not adopted an interlocal agreement with Flagler County for the collection and remittance of the county's adopted transportation impact fee. The developer, through the proposed agreement between the county and the developer, has opted to voluntarily proffer a John Anderson Highway mitigation contribution payable at the time of building permit issuance and to be remitted to the county to offset the transportation impacts resulting from the projects. The John Anderson Highway Mitigation Contribution is intended to serve as the developer's proportionate fair share contribution to mitigate the Veranda Bay and Summertown project's impacts on John Anderson Highway. The developer's contribution is not intended to fully fund the county's future capital improvements or ongoing maintenance of the John Anderson right-of-way. This issue is satisfied. And with these five, the conflict resolution procedures under Chapter 164, upon your approval, would be hereby completed and closed.
Thank you. I'll open up to the board. Any questions or comments regarding this agreement?
I don't have any right now.
You're good? You're okay? Before we go out to public comment, are there any other items for discussion by the board today? No, no, no. Okay. I'm going to open it up for public comment on this item. This is a 30-minute time period. It's been allocated for public comment. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to address the commission. Speakers should approach the podium, identify themselves, and direct comments to the chair. Would anyone like to come forward?
Morning, Commissioners, Madam Chair.
Morning, sir.
My name is John Tanner. I represent the nonprofit preserve Flagler Beach and Beulah Creek.
I want to pull the microphone up a little for them. There you
I
go.
represent the nonprofit preserve Flagler Beach and Beulah Creek, Inc. And I would like to comment and ask, actually, if we've solved these problems or just identified them. John Anderson Highway is a particular concern, as many members of the group that I represent live on John Anderson. I know for years, and Commissioner Hanson years ago said that we will not allow the four-laning of John Anderson Highway. John Anderson Highway is a unique piece of property. It's a piece of Florida like it was, and it's all right to have a little bit of Florida like it was, because the rest of it doesn't look like Florida like it was as we look up and down the developmental categories that we see going on. We like some type of firm commitment from the developer as to how he's going to route the traffic and what's going to be done. In the days when the PUD was first created, the solution agreed upon had been an overpass or an underpass. That's disputed as whether or not that was required or just optional. Our view of it is it was required. In any event, even back then, the traffic issue was a significant concern. John Anderson Highway is a piece of the environment. The houses along John Anderson actually provide a wildlife sanctuary. There's not much left along John Anderson. We used to see deer dead all over the highway. We do see gopher turtles quite often. And the people along John Anderson, some of them have started feeding the deer, and that's why there was impact. Now that that has stopped, that refuge area needs to be protected, and we hope that you'll see to that. The other issue of concern is the Water Wars Agreement was designed in such a way that future commissions, and this was agreed upon by all parties to the Water Wars Agreement, could not significantly change any of the commitments or obligations. The developer was supposed to provide the reuse water treatment plant, design, pay for it, and deed it to the city. Now we have the city taking that obligation over. I'm not sure why, but in any event, it's going to put an impact upon county residents who also happen to be city residents. Someone's going to have to be paying that. I think it's about a $47 million bill. Now, have not been able to find a breakdown as to how much of it was going to the water treatment, but it seems that the developer should have been held to the Water Wars Agreement, and that just because the city's saying that they're willing to take it does not nullify it. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions for me, you can ask.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? No? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Bring it back for discussion. I see that the developers here, is there anything you'd like to say? No? All right.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the ratification of settlement of the conflict assessment meeting with the City of Flagler Beach, Resolution 2026-05.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Hanson, a second by Mr. Dance. Are we, any further discussion? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think really just in conclusion, want to thank everybody, staff, for getting this done through the process as outlined by our attorney and meeting as needed to settle it. We gave them the direction to get together and come to an agreement that was acceptable to the city. I think through us and with the applicant, I think the process worked out. So just wanted to thank staff for getting everything done and without litigation.
Yeah, it looked to me like everything was answered.
Thank you.
They did a good job, so.
Anything else, Ms. Carney, before we vote?
Sure, I'll chime in for a minute. Being a resident of Flagler Beach, I did do a little bit more research on the wastewater plant. According to the city manager in an email that you all received a copy of on February 3rd, the city is saying that the expenditure of $46 million, wouldn't that be nice, 46,000? $7,000 is what they're calling their current project. It does not include facilities or infrastructure associated with the distribution or use of reclaimed water. However, it will be funded through the state revolving fund, which is at a very low rate. It appears as though the city is relying on $11 million worth of impact fees in order to fund whatever it's going to take to get the reclaimed water to this facility. So we're splitting hairs here on the water wars. Their attorney does not believe that the intent of that agreement is the intent of an agreement. It's not a legal binding court order. I disagree with that. When you look at the city's plan for distribution of the reclaimed water, they're projecting between now and 2030 to spend $9 million to get the reclaimed water used up and within the city. However, the developer at the same time declares in his notes, talking points, that Summertown will utilize nearly all of the 700,000 gallons of treated wastewater at Flagler Beach currently dumps into the intercoastal. This doesn't include, I don't think, this includes Veranda Bay. So I talked to the city manager, asked, why is the city going through all this if Veranda Bay and Summertown are going to virtually use 100%, or it's just states nearly all. And then the city is prepared to sell reuse water, and there are tubes or purple tubes in the ground at KB Homes on Roberts Road. So I don't know why the city is going through this motion, but all of this, but it was never intended, at least when I served on the board, to ever bring reclaimed water to the golf course down on South 26th Street or something. So there does not seem to be real clear communication. At a public meeting, the developer, I asked the question, how much of the water are you going to use reclaimed? The answer was almost all of it. Would you like to see my data? My fault for not following up on that, but the city manager denies ever hearing that. So I think the reclaimed water facility and the illness on the developer to cooperate or participate, I should say, is still not there, but that's a Flagler Beach issue. The Flagler Beach Commission needs to figure that one out. And yes, they need to get rid of the water. I also participated and would like to speak for a minute on the future Flagler County, Florida Forever Conservation Area. I'm happy with the 3-year commitment. I believe this county made a mistake in not trying to buy this first or in the past. I'd like to make sure, Adam, that this land gets moved up very high on our, in case we end up making the transaction and not Forever Florida. I'd like to see this as part of the funding that we have right now. Everybody possibly doesn't know this, but we have an environmentally sensitive ad valorem tax that everyone gets. That is not in perpetuity. It will come back up, but we need to spend those funds, and I think it's time that, and we have been, we're doing a great job, Adam. I would just like to see this property be high, very high on the list, and I'd like a 6-month update on where we are, not just with this property, but with all the other environmentally sensitive lands. I did go to the meeting with the FDOT Bulow Creek Headwaters Regional Park. They do have it set aside for future Flagler County property. I believe that protecting that headwaters is a very key role of ours. And like I say, I just wish we would have done it earlier so we wouldn't have to go through this. The park that they're projecting will not have, I shouldn't say, will not have direct access for the people that end up in, what's the name of this development? Summertown, but it will certainly be an amenity that they will look forward to in the future. I don't even know if 150 acres or 153 acres is the number, but whatever is there that needs to be preserved, I'd like to see us move forward with that aggressively and not wait on the state, because we can't control the state, but we can control Flagler County to the amount that we can. I would also like to state that I was at the meeting when Attorney Al Hadid, I'm not going to use the word begged, but he begged for the city to sit down with us and talk about John Anderson Highway. We went to every meeting that the city had and workshopped, and this road for John Anderson came up over and over and over again. I think we could have eliminated all of this by having a joint workshop or having some type of communication with the city. Adam addressed it, our attorney addressed it, Sarah addressed it, so I'm happy that there is some resolution here that the counties need to maintain that area, and that if we're going to own it, we should control it. So I'm glad to see that we had several discussions about the ownership of that land, or of the maintenance of John Anderson. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. All right, we have a,
There were a couple things that you said there that we need a consensus on because you're directing staff to do stuff. So we need a consensus.
getting ready to.
We need consensus. You can't just tell the staff to do stuff.
That's
We get-
fine. I just said I would like
So,
it. You guys can
thank
pick
you.
up on it.
So one of the things Ms. Carney brought up was a consensus to ensure that staff is prioritizing Bulow to the committee. I don't think necessarily we can direct that committee. They have procedures that they go through to get on the A list and to prioritize, but I think, go ahead.
Well, last presentation we had from Eric, it had moved to the A list.
It is
so
on the A list.
Right.
Yeah, so at any time on the A list. So we all agree that, do we all agree that the staff should continue to make it a priority for the committee, correct?
Yeah, and there is different avenues, as Ms. Carney explained, so we're not reliant on just one. We have different paths to take.
Right.
It's just nice if there's somebody else partnering with us instead of
Right.
all of us, just the county. But, so that's why we're going
We're
down
in
those
agreement
paths.
that Bulow is a priority for our board to acquire, however means we
Exactly.
acquire. Okay.
Exactly.
Do you, all right, welcome.
Isn't this 11:30?
No, it's 11.
Seriously?
Yes. So we have we've gone through this presentation, and we have a motion to approve by Mr. Hanson. We have a second by Mr. Dance, and we've had discussion and public comment. Would she participate in the voting at this matter that she's missed? Asking Mr.
She can still
Rodriguez.
participate because
Yeah.
she has been provided with all the supporting
okay.
documentation.
All right.
The same resolution that I've read, she was provided with it. So she has all the data in order to form an informed decision. She can also provide her comments now if she wishes to.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on this matter?
No, I don't. I read through it
All
and
right, thank you.
comfortable about that.
All right, are we good? Are we ready for, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote if that's okay with everybody. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Dance,
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carney,
No.
Commissioner Pennington,
Yes,
Commissioner Richardson.
Yes.
Thank you.
all right. I'll take a motion to adjourn if
Move we adjourn?
I'll second.
you're adjourned.
I'm sure it said 11:30.